But in your early career, now we changed to singing. In your early career, you made a few very successful records. You have a lovely voice, but you did not pursue singing except in musicals. Why?
Um, I was just at the last of the time. I made the recordings during Dr. Kildare when singing standards was still a viable thing to do. And, you know, I was kind of a 50s person. And, rock and roll and all that stuff, which immediately came on the scene, is not something that I felt particularly drawn to as a performer. I think it might be fun now, but it's a little too late. But and singing is I think I just went out of style in terms of the kind of singing I did. And it worked in musicals and stuff, but I'm not sure it would have given me any kind of recording career.
You are also an artist. You have a varied palette of paintings that can be seen and of which high quality prints can be acquired on your website richard-chamberlain.com.
Yes.
On the most recent one, titled All the Jazz, you transform sound into image. From a central structure emerges improvisation in the shape of lines and colors that morph into musical instruments or parts of them. Is this the image that jazz that comes naturally to your mind when you listen to jazz, or has it been rather an intellectual process of rationalization that has led you from the audio perception to the visual representation?
Well, that's interesting. I was visiting a friend of mine in France, and I went to 2 painting classes with her recently. And the subject of this particular class was to do something pertaining to music. And everybody was doing violinists and piano players and trumpet players and things. And I thought, I'm just going to do music. I'm going to do what music looks like. And so I started this rather small drawing, but I quite like it. In a way that I do sort of see music. I see jazz in terms of visual things, not terribly specifically, but riffs and dots and textures and things like that. And when I listen to, say, Beethoven or Mozart, I don't see it. I hear it. I hear the melodies. But when I listen to Bartók, for instance, or some of the more modern, less melodic, there I do see, almost see, textures and big swooping forms and staccato things and stuff, and it has a certain visual quality for me. So that's what I used in this drawing, and it does look like music to me. It looks like visual music.
Do you, through your paintings, usually express personal feelings and emotions, your secrets in a way, and use a painting to sort of exorcise them? Or is it more superficial, merely aesthetic?
Yes and no. Sometimes I'm just interested in beauty, in creating something that I find beautiful, visually beautiful, as in nature. But sometimes I do paintings that have a certain meaning for me. There's one I know called Celestial Ardor, that is actually, if you look carefully, it's testicles and a huge penis rushing up into the sky into a kind of celestial vagina, I guess. And the reason I did that is because I felt that was a way of expressing totally committing yourself to life. And for a man, total commitment is in part phallic. And I like that painting a lot, and that's really what it's about. as opposed to living life partially. It's really living it entirely, totally. So yes, I have a few paintings like that.
When you stand in front of a blank canvas or sheet of paper, do you already know what you are going to draw or paint on, or does inspiration come while you are working and you never know in advance what the final result will look like?
I find that I have an idea to start with, and then the first part of doing the painting is usually rather easy. You're kind of getting the idea in shape. And then there's a sort of middle slog to the painting. If it's not really working, but what can I do? And I'll try this, and I'll try that, and I'll try that. And then the painting starts to take over and tell you what to do. That's the part I like best. And it can be a considerable variation from what you had originally intended. Or it could be a better version of what you originally intended. Or on occasion it could be just worse and you throw it out. But I find that the painting, it becomes fairly improvised as you go along, and it begins to tell you what to do, what it needs. It's a very interesting moment in a painting when you know it's not quite right. You don't know why, and so you just look at it, and you might go away for a while, and then you come back and you look at it. And then suddenly, it's almost as if somebody whispers in your ear, try a little blue, just a minute. And so you think, yeah, and you try that. The All That Jazz was like that. What if I make some little squares here? But then it seems to need little squares elsewhere. It just needs them. So you put some there, and then you put some there, and whoa, it works.
So it's the painting that tells you when it is finished?
It definitely tells you when it's finished, because there's just nothing more you can do, unless you want to spoil it. That can happen too. Mm-hmm. And it's a tricky moment. But mostly I know when it's finished. It's just, there's literally nothing else I can do to it.
Are you working at a new painting right now?
No, I want to. I'm just having stuff delivered to my apartment from Hawaii, where I've just sold my beach house. And as soon as I get that done and my studio set up, I'm going to start painting again.
You wrote a book, a memoir called Shattered Love, published in 2003. It contained philosophical reflections and biographical data. You have a gift for writing. Proof of it, your various articles, forewords, poems, haikus over the years. Do you contemplate to extend your philosophical reflections in another book?
Maybe. I've been doing haiku lately, writing them, and I've got, oh gosh, I don't know, I haven't counted, about 30 or 35 of them that I'd rather like. And I have an idea for making them into a little sort of self-published volume that I might give to friends. But they're good. They're really rather good. And that's been the extent of my writing lately, is doing haiku. The challenge of a haiku is to say something that has some meaning in an extremely limited form. It's just 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. That's all you get.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult.
Yeah. And are you aware that some readers of Shattered Love have found real inspiration to ride out difficult times, illness or loss?
I've received some very, very thoughtful letters from people who've read the book and said, oh my God, I had a problem with my father like that, and blah, blah, blah. And I did reach a moment of forgiveness, etc. I think forgiveness, by the way, is not saying it was okay or anything. It's just saying there was nothing to forgive. You were who you were. You did what you did. And that was life. That was real. And there's literally nothing to forgive. But that's another story. Yes, I've received some wonderful responses about various sort of philosophical things in the book.
Last question. What makes you mad, Richard Chamberlain, professionally?
Republicans? Oh, professionally? Once in a while, you run into a particular kind of actress, not often, who makes endless trouble until the entire set, the entire studio, the entire production is tearing their hair out and saying, God, and suddenly when everybody's insane, they're fine, because it's all about them. I could name 2 actresses I've worked with like that, but I won't. And it works for them, and sometimes they're very, very good, but at the cost of everybody's. and furthermore, it's not fair to the other actors, because the other actors are suddenly exhausted waiting for this magical thing to happen. That makes me mad. Producers who treat their companies badly, that happened on a movie I did in Africa once, and we started to rebel, actually, because they were treating the little people on the set, in quotes, very badly. And I'm not sure we got any results, but we tried. And funnily enough, in the beginning of my career, I ran into several directors who would pick a particular person, like the script girl, for instance, or the sound man, to torture during the production. And that made me mad.
Well, Richard Chamberlain, your career is absolutely impressive. Unfortunately, it has not been possible to mention all your films, movies, plays, and musicals. I am extremely grateful for this opportunity to talk to you and for the time you have dedicated or devoted to this interview for the Richard Chamberlain Webbiography. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, I thank you too. This has been a great pleasure. Thank you very much.